Hi and welcome to all the racing enthusiasts to join us for this pre-recorded show on the Gallop YouTube channel, and we're looking at the meeting for Saturday the 21st of June. We are pre-recording on Friday early doors, so take note of the scratchings. Lovely to have the resident expert Graham Hawkins in the studio. Graham, how do we find you? And then the weather pattern in Cape Town has certainly changed.
Winter has certainly set in. Firstly, thank you, Sheldon. I'm fine. We've had some nice success over the last two meetings in particular, so let's look forward to another successful day's racing. But winter has set in. The track condition is likely to be very much on the soft side. We've got 11 races, bright and early start at 11:20, and because we've got 11 races, we've got 3 jackpots and 2 bipots. And race 1 is indeed the first leg of Jackpot 1. It's a maiden juvenile plate over 1,400 metres.
Now, looking at the first race, we're chatting off air. Very competitive race with number 1 Star Major, runner-up in both runs to date, 5-2. Number 2 Gold Gabowski at 7-2 from 28 to 10. 4th to All the Rage, 3rd to Churchillian. The form lines have been well franked. Number 9 New World at 7-2. And then the interesting runner has to be number 10 United Front from a wide draw, but has drifted from 33 to 10 out 5-1. Graham.
And what price is number 5 Diamond Days?
Diamond Days you can get 6-1.
Therein lies the value for me. Number 5 Diamond Days. It's a very, very good race. These are all good horses. They're all going to win races. Star Major, Gold Gabowski, Diamond Days, New World. Not sure about the first time United Front. But Diamond Days, second to Good For You, came out and won the Grade 1 Gold Medallion. Then second to Roland Garros, who runs in the Langerman with a bright chance. That form is good enough to win a race like this, and I think at 6-1 he represents some decent value. That being said, it's not going to be easy. Number 9 New World also brings strong form into the race, ran second to Randolph Hurst, who also runs in the Langerman later on in this card. In its penultimate start, Star Major, second in both starts behind 2 useful sorts in All the Rage, Follow Your Heart, and Gold Gabowski is going to relish stepping up from 1,000 metres to 1,400 metres, being by gold standard out of a philanthropist mare. So it's a really strong maiden juvenile plate. It's an interesting race. This is a result that you can follow.
Right, let's move along to race number 2 and 11:55, 1,400 hours. So racing from the crack of dawn, plenty of action to get involved with. Number 6 Splash of Colour from 16 to 10 has gone 2-1, and the reason being that number 8 Got the Look from 4-1 down 5-2. Number 7 Oncidium is around 7-2 and 4-1, and barring those 3, Graham, it's 10-1 and better the rest. Interesting money for number 8 Got the Look. The money's down early from 4-1.
Yeah, look, this is the first leg of the bipod. The form is not as strong as the first race, let's be clear on that. I'm not surprised there's money coming for number 8 Got the Look. Behind the Unicorn, there was very little to choose between Splash of Colour and Got the Look, and that was on the 14th of April. Then obviously Splash of Colour took a step forward when running 3rd over this trip behind Take It As Red, and then Got the Look stayed down the lane and ran 3rd behind Electromagnetism over 1,200 metres, and Electromagnetism came out and won again, and Electromagnetism is running in the Iridescent Stakes for 2-year-old fillies on this card. So I don't think there's a lot to separate 6 Splash of Colour and 8 Got the Look, and I think the initial early betting was a bit lopsided in favour of Splash of Colour, and there was some value to be had about number 8 Got the Look, so I'm not surprised that there is money coming for number 8 Got the Look. I'm expecting the winner to come from one of these 2 in the bipod. I would include both numbers 6 Splash of Colour and 8 Got the Look. I'm not certain that you have to look wider than that. There is a very well-bred first time in the form of number 2 Greek Heiress out of that very, very good mare Athena, but that is expected to need the run. Oncidium might have scope for improvement, but seems quite well held by Splash of Colour. So I'm not really expecting an upset in this race. But I'm not convinced on either Splash of Colour, Got the Look. I think either have good winning chances. I think they have equal winning chances in this race, and I would be expecting the winner to come from amongst that pair.
Moving on to the opening leg of the place accumulator, which will be race number 3, and now you've got a multitude of different bets that you can take on the day, a number of jackpots. The PA race number 3, scratched at the early stage of recording, is number 7 Digby, so there will be a 20% deduction, and that means number 1 October Storm, the 2-year-old colt from the Vaughan Marshall stable. You'll touch more on the pedigree. A son of Vercingetorix out of the Varmare Miss October is at 8 to 10. Number 6 Eco at 33 to 10, and then you can get 7 to 1 and better the rest. Just looking at the comment from the Vaughan Marshall stable, shows some really good work.
That won't take a lot of winning this race. So if number 1 October Storm, the half brother to Tempting Fate, and October Morn is anything special, he doesn't have to be totally special or even totally tuned up for this opening race of his career to win this. When I submitted the place accumulator, which as you know we have to put in a few days in advance, I made my place accumulator banker number 6 Eco or Ico, whichever way it's pronounced, off the back of his last 2 runs when second behind Dive Bomb and 3 Tigers. I do think that Ico will run a place, but clearly the betting now tells a story and could tell a further story as race time approaches. But if number 1 October Storm is anything like his siblings, he could well shorten from that 8 to 10 to an even more restrictive price. But I'm happy that number 6 Ico will at least run in the top 3. That is the horse to beat amongst the exposed runners. But clearly, if you want to add to my suggested place accumulator Perm, which has number 6 Ico a banker, throwing in number 1 October Storm, that would be the obvious thing to do. But let's monitor the betting all the way up into race time.
Talking about race time, race number 4 will be the opening leg of the pick 6 at 13:05, so don't get left. 1400 meters the trip, and at the early timer recording, no scratchings, with number 2 Taylor's Version 2 to 1, number 1 Meg's Legacy at 33 to 10 from 4 to 1, 5 Red Coral 7 to 2, and the number 10 Red State is priced up at around 5 to 1. So Red State 5 to 1, and those are the top few in the betting. Now Graham, when you look at the opening leg of the pick 6, you could throw a blanket over the top 3 or 4.
Not easy to separate these runners. It is an open maiden, so it's a maiden handicap, in other words, for fillies and mares 1400 meters. I think we'll have to take note of how Splash of Colour goes in the second race. That ran 3rd behind Take It As Red in its second start. Here we have number 2 Taylor's Version, who ran 4th behind Take It As Red. So if Splash of Colour, as we are expecting her to do, runs a decent race in the second race and perhaps even wins the second race, that will have enhanced the credentials of number 2 Taylor's Version, who's a very nicely bred 2-year-old filly. My top choice marginally in the race would be number 1 Meg's Legacy. I think she's going to continue to improve now that she's racing over a bit further than the absolute sprint distances. At her time of the year, she's a half-sister to Oriental Charm by Legislate, who's a previous July winner. So she's got July winners on both sides of her pedigree, and here she is trying to win an open maiden. That's the beauty of horse racing. But huge respect for number 2 Taylor's Version, and then obviously numbers 5 Red Coral and 10 Red State. Ricky Mangard's stable is in very good form. I've gone with numbers 1, 2 and 5 in this leg of the place accumulator, but you would need to go at the very least you would need to go numbers 1, 2, 5 and 10 in the opening leg of the pick 6. You can't leave anything that Ricky Mangard sends out these days out of anything. So, and there might be some improvement to come from number 4 Special Glamour Sheldon, but she started off a career in promising fashion. The last 2 runs have been really poor. So I'm sitting on the fence with number 4 Special Glamour. So number 1 Meg's Legacy, my marginal first choice, but not with a great deal of confidence.
On to race number 5, which is the perfectly placed C Stakes over 1950 meters. And Graham, the interesting thing here is when you look at the best weighted column, number 10 Heliotrope tops that weighted column from numbers 2, 9, 5 and 7. The current joint favourite number 4 ahead of the Facts, obviously on the improve. Could this Son of Futura be ahead of the pack?
Yeah, he could be, because he surprised me, I'll be honest with you. you know, he's really come well, and there's nothing wrong with his form, and he's certainly one of the leading lights in what I think is a very tough race. It's not a race that I trust. The Sea Stakes 1950 first leg of Jackpot 2. A reminder, it's the first leg of Jackpot 2 because Jackpot 1 is races 1, 2, 3 and 4. But you know, I have been on the back of Heliotrope. Viewers to the show will know that I've been waiting for her to win. She hasn't disgraced us in her last 3 starts. She's run second, third and second. She's competitive over this sort of trip. I think she goes well in the going. We can expect the going to be testing at the very least. But so Heliotrope would be my top choice ahead of number 4, ahead of the facts of number 3, Quite a King. Those are the 3 I've included in the place accumulators, number 3, 4 and 10. But that's not where the list of potential winners ends. I think this is the kind of race, particularly given the going that we can expect. There may be 1 or 2 others that need a mention. Number 2, Aria Vistas, was a very convincing winner of his maiden last time out. It was a bit of a surprise to me that he won so comfortably, but that was his 8th career start. We can expect improvement from the likes of 5 Wood World and 6 Repetition. To the Moon and Back always keeps me interested. I certainly wouldn't play a trifecta or quartet without number 8, To the Moon and Back. Jetta 1 might find it tough going to the front in these conditions, but certainly not prayerless in this race. But I think the number 10, Heliotrope, sets the standard and shapes up for me as an ideal roving banker.
Well, there we go, Heliotrope, and you do find the fillies in these type of races are well weighted, so you can expect them to be right there in the shake-up, and when the flags are floating and the whips are cracking, they'll be there at the finishing post. Along to race number 6, which is the Iridescent Stakes, listed over 1,500 meters, and there's 100,000 Rand CRS bonus, no allowances. And of course, Graham, if we cast our mind back, who'll forget Iridescence?
Yeah, no, wonderful filly. She carried our flag on the international stage with huge success. This is always the backup feature to the much anticipated Langerman, which is one of the superior 2-year-old features annually on the South African calendar. This year's renewal is tricky. For me, it's a field race. Let me say that right up front, because only Take It As Read is raced beyond 1,200 meters. So while there is form to go around, none of it is around the turn. Most of the form in the race is up the straight over 1,200 meters. Here they go 1,500 meters. They're going more ground on a testing track. So those with stamina limitations might well be exposed. But I'm going to take a punt to number 6, Ukuduma, as my leading choice. 1 on debut, beating a very limited field, beating Ruby Rex, but I don't know that Ukuduma was expected to win on debut over 1,100 meters. She's got a lovely pedigree. She's by Versin Getterix out of Thunder Dance. Thunder Dance is a multiple grade 1 winner. So I guess I'm persuaded a little bit by the pedigree as much as anything else. Gonna love the step up to the 1,500 meters. Vaughan Marshall, Gavin Larena, they've been in terrific form. So without a great deal of conviction, number 6, Ukuduma, would be my top choice. But you know, She's My World, Electromagnetism, Lowfeld Lily, Paralegal, these have all got good form over less ground. Mrs. Klaus is making her debut, which leaves us with Take It As Read, who's the only one to have won over 1,400 meters. Now that form line, as we've mentioned twice already in the show, comes under the spotlight earlier on the day with Splash of Colour and Taylor's Version. So if those two both win, that'll certainly enhance the chances of number 1, Take It As Read, who's in double-figure odds in the betting. But for me, I don't want to go on and on because there's not enough form to work on over this sort of track and trip in these sort of conditions to say with any kind of conviction that one can nail your colours to the mast. I do think it's a field race, but Ukuduma would be my marginal first choice, based as much on pedigree as anything else.
There we go, Ukuduma, that'll be the first selection and hopefully does proud on the race course. Now, Graham's really looking forward to the renewal of the Langerman Grade 3, race number 7 over 1,500 meters, where number 2, Dream World, Vaughan Marshall sends out this individual as your 28-10 favourite. And then Graham, Justin Snaith has come with all of his soldiers here. He's got number 6, Roland Garros, the 2nd favourite. Number 7, Randolph Hurst, the 3rd favourite. The unbeaten Happy Versus 2 from 2, that is the 4th favourite. Absolutely yes, the 5th favourite. And he's got majority of the field here.
Yeah, so you remember who won this race last year? Of course, it was 8 on 18.
8 on 18.
8 on 18 won this race, and we're not going to talk about the drama that preceded 8 on 18's victory in the Langerman, but we all know that One Stripe didn't take up his position in the field. But his half-brother does this year. Vapor Trail is the half-brother to One Stripe. So this is a race that perennially has thrown up classic winners. And this year's renewal, although it's small in number, is high on quality. I think this is an absolutely intriguing renewal of the Langerman. I'm surprised Dream World is favourite, not because I doubt he's got the talent, but again, same comment as I made with the fillies in the Iridescent Stakes. His form is over 1,200 metres and 1,100 metres. He's got a lot of speed on his dam side. So I'm going to be playing against number 2, Dream World. I'm going to be relying on the Snaith Armada. And over the last couple of meetings, banking on JP's judgment has served me well. You know,
He's done exceptionally well with
10
his
penny
choices.
over Future Turn and a few others that we labelled on the show. So I'm going to be persuaded that number 7, Randolph Hearst, is better than Roland Garros, and absolutely yes. But it can't have been easy for him because clearly the form suggests there's nothing to choose between Roland Garros and Randolph Hearst. So Randolph Hearst would be my first choice. But the one that he could never have ridden is, of course, Happy Verse, because Greg Bortz owns absolutely, yes, Roland Garros and Randolph Hearst. We know the arrangement between JP and Greg. So JP's decided to go with number 7, Randolph Hearst. As I say, it couldn't have been an easy decision to make because Roland Garros and absolutely, yes, look very smart horses in the making. Happy Verse could be absolutely anything. He won on debut, beating Bugle Boy. Unfortunately, Bugle Boy hasn't franked that form. And then Happy Verse, I was impressed. I know it was a low grade class 5 handicap, but as a 2-year-old carrying 60 against some hard knocking older horses, he stepped up to the plate and beat Firing on All Engines, who then came out to win. But I'm not convinced that that form is as strong as that of Roland Garros and Randolph Hearst. It's an intriguing renewal. I'm in the camp of Randolph Hearst.
There we go, on to race number 8. So there's 8, 9, 10 and 11 to screech through. 1,600 metres the trip. Scratched is number 4, My Only Weakness. So take out number 4, My Only Weakness. 7 runners go to the post. Does it make it any easier? No. Number 2, Lady Lookalike, 2-1. Number 5, Miraculous, 22-10. Along with number 6, Kamchatka, 22-10. Number 1, Pentalina, 7-1. And number 8, From a Distance, 8-1. Graham, I'm going to hand the baton straight over to you.
Well, firstly, to remind everybody, as we've said over and over again, that there are 3 jackpots, and race 8 is the first leg of the third and final jackpot. I'm going to narrow it down to 2 runners. Take my chances because there's some tough races on the day. My initial place accumulator, as it will come on screen, shows number 4, My Only Weakness, and number 6, Kamchatka. Obviously, now we know that number 4, My Only Weakness, is a scratching, so I'm going to replace that with number 5, Miraculous, and I'm going to rely on those 2 in all exotics to get me through. Miraculous, I think, is in good heart. She's ready to win again. She's always been pretty well regarded, so I think that she'll go well. But Kamchatka, Brevin Plikey takes 2.5 off the back, so she does have 61 to shoulder, but there isn't a big weight spread, and I think Kamchatka is going to relish the conditions that you'll get at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth on the winter course this Saturday the 21st, when we know the going is going to be on the soft side. So I'm going to restrict my selections, win, lose or draw, to number 5 Miraculous and number 6 Kamchatka, with a slight preference for Kamchatka. Clearly Pentalina, Lady Lookalike, From a Distance, these horses can upset, but somewhere along the way you've got to actually eliminate as best as you can eliminate. So I'm going to rely on 5 Miraculous and 6 Kamchatka to get me through race 8.
Next up will be race number 9, and this is over a distance of 1,200 meters. And just having a look, no scratchings at the time of recording. Number 3, Ricky Tiki Tavi, lovely name, 7-2. Number 4, Oktoberfest, is at 9-2. Number 2, Maritzburg Memory, that's at 11-2. And then we go hunting, 7-1, and better the rest. Let's kick off with number 3, Ricky Tiki Tavi. After a promising 4th on debut, where the form was well franked, showed them a clean pair of heels, and that form line's been well franked.
Yeah, she beat Claire de Lune, who's eventually come out to shed her maiden ticket. But although Claire de Lune took a while to win a maiden, we all know that she's well
Rated.
above the average. She's rated by the stable, and she's run against some top horses. So Ricky Tikitavi sets a standard in race 9, which is the first leg of the final pick 3. And like I did in the previous race, you know, this race has the potential to produce an upset result. There's no doubt about it. It's a class 4 fillies and mares. But I'm going to restrict my selections to 2 runners. I'm going to respect the fact that Ricky Tikitavi took only 2 runs to win its maiden, beat a top horse. In doing so, it's got plenty of scope for further improvement. But I'm going to back her up with number 4, Oktoberfest, who I think is now due to win and ready to win. So I'm restricting my selections to 3, Ricky Tikitavi, and 4, Oktoberfest. I recognize and appreciate that if you want to go wider, I wouldn't put you off that. Funny enough, if I was to throw in a third horse, I think you know where my mind is going. It would be all the way back to Captain's Destiny in case she arrived at 20-1. She seems to have gone off the boil in the last 2 starts, but you and I, we've done really well out of Captain's Destiny over the time. So she owes us no money.
100%.
So if I was to add a third, it wouldn't be any of those in the betting like Maritzburg Memory or American Ultra or She's Got Class or Dark Winter or Pocket Dial. If I was to add a third, and I might just do that, given our history, our successful history, without adding number 10, Captain's Destiny. But I'm expecting the winner to come from either numbers 3, Ricky Tikitavi, or 4, Oktoberfest.
That'll take us on to the penultimate race of the day. So if you're looking to play the last double races, 10 and 11, 16, 25 over 1,200 meters. And I'm afraid to say the betting doesn't make it any easier. No scratchings at the early time of recording. But number 1, Becky Sharp, 33-10. 4, St. Bridget, 33-10. Number 3, Easy Money, 33-10. 7, I'm the Buzz. Now just having a look at this runner last time from 100-1 down 10-1. That is now 5-1. Much improved last run, went 4th behind Electromagnetism. And then we have number 8, Love Story, and 5, Music of the Night at around 8-1. Now, horse that's done well for us is number 3, Easy Money. So I'll be throwing this horse in. But the horse I believe they all got to beat is number 4, St. Bridget. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, look, it's interesting that she steps all the way back to 1,200 meters, which is interesting. And I think she was meant to run the other day and then was scratched, but she certainly brings nice form into the race. I've got 2 horses in terms of structuring jackpot 3. As we've discussed, I've got 2 horses in race 8 and 2 horses in race 9 because I'm going field here. This is a field full of horses that actually don't seem to want to win.
No.
They run second, they run third, they run fourth. Funny enough, Easy Money did win for us not too long ago. But I've been following Becky Sharp. I've been following St. Bridget. I've been following Easy Money. I respect the fact that there was huge support for number 7, I'm the Buzz, last time out. And it's interesting that Craig Zackier said, put me on her next time again. And maybe I'll know her a little bit better. So the fact that I'm the Buzz, that betting plunge from huge odds into 10-1 does raise a flag. So I'm the Buzz could well be the leading candidate here. Love Story can improve, but again, it's a class 5 fillies and mares. There are 10 of them in the race. I'm not going to try with any confidence to single out the winner. I'm going 2 horses in the first leg of jackpot 3. I'm going 2 horses in the second leg. Hopefully I survive that. And I'm going field in the third leg of jackpot 3. But I guess my top 2 choices would be number 1, Becky Sharp, and number 7, I'm the Buzz, but huge respect for 3, Easy Money, and 4, St. Bridget.
That'll take us on to the 11th and final race. So an odd card when it comes to the number of races. Race number 11 due off at 1700 hours. And all I can tell you is there's a host of runners at 9-2 and better, which tells us the tale over the 1,000 meter trip. Let's kick off with number 2, Nordic Quest. 147 days off the track. Graham, if you ignore that last run, the penultimate run behind Asia Pambile, the run to Miss Marguerite, and then back-to-back victories, if not just a need of the run, would be a big each-way player?
Very big player. I think we need to accept that things went amiss in the Olympic dual stakes, and she was given time to get over that. I'm not overly concerned by the fact that she's been off the track. I'm sure Candice will bring her back to the races in fine order. This race is also very competitive, but unlike race 10, which is for class 5 runners, there's some really nice form in this race, and there's some really nice fillies in this Hollywoodbets Bright Future Middle Stakes over 1,000 meters. So I do think that although she's easy to back at around 7-1, I do think that number 2, Nordic Quest sets the standard. She's a beautiful, beautiful daughter of Karari. Miss World jumping out of the gate 1. Huge respect. She hasn't won for some time, but we know the Greg Enyon stable has turned and starting to churn out the winners. Although she hasn't won for 455 days, she's been running super races in defeat. Richard Faree takes the ride. He's only ridden her once before, and he ran second on her, and that was sometime back in January. So with Richard Faree back aboard number 1 Miss World, with Greg Enyon now starting to find the winners in closure, I think that number 1 Miss World will go very close. So numbers 1 Miss World and number 2 Nordic Quest, they lead my charge in terms of how I think they might end up in this race. But there's so many with decent form. Tanneron didn't let us down. We labelled it last time. Elusive Winter, always a threat. Nordic Chief, Andre Nell's runner, always a threat. Winter Rainfall, I'm So Pretty, in fact, won the Olympic Dual Stakes, where Nordic Quest ran so poorly. We haven't seen I'm So Pretty either. So out of that Olympic Dual Stakes, Nordic Quest and I'm So Pretty have their first start since the 25th of January. So I'm So Pretty is good enough to win a feature. She's certainly good enough to win this if returning to the action in good order. But I think double roving banker for me, number 1 Miss World and number 2 Nordic Quest. I think you've got to go wider than those two in the final leg of Jackpot 3 because there are others with significant winning chances. But my top 2 choices would be number 1 Miss World and number 2 Nordic Quest.
And then number 3, Dean Street at around 20-1. The Lucinda Woodruff stable, they've been having a whale of a time around the country. They've been sending out winners left, right and centre. This is just one of those roughies that I think you can include into your swingers and exactors. Off form recently, but at best this horse, Dean Street, more than capable. More than capable.
In fact, you go back to his last win, which was admittedly 8 months ago or thereabouts. He beat Nordic Chief. And Nordic Chief is one of the principal runners in the race. So Dean Street is capable of that level of form, but clearly last time he showed signs of perhaps recapturing his best form, and perhaps he'll really show a really soft track. It's going to be, by the time we get to race 11, if the rain, we're not expecting much rain through the race meeting. It depends what happens. Everybody knows we're recording the show early on Friday morning. It's what happens at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth for the rest of this Friday leading into the meeting that's going to determine how soft that track is. But so Dean Street could pop up, yes.
Well, that's a look at our Comrades Marathon meeting, 11 races. Now we're going to leave it up to Graham to give him his suggested bet for the day. So Graham, take it away for all your followers.
Place Accumulator is the bet of choice for this race meeting. I've gone with number 6, Ico. Ico is a banker in the opening leg, which is at 12.30. But clearly they've priced up this horse, number 1, October Storm in the red, half brother to Tempting Fate, and October Morn. So if you want to add in number 1, I do think that number 6, Ico will run a place whatever happens. Then numbers 1, 2 and 5 in the second leg, numbers 3, 4 and 10 in the third leg, 3 and 6 in the fourth leg, 6 and 7 in the fifth leg, 4 and 6 in the penultimate leg. Now there, number 4, my only weakness is a scratching now. So I'm going to change 4 and 6 in the penultimate leg to 5 and 6, Miraculous and Kamchatka. And the last leg, numbers 3 and 4, that's Ricky Tiki Tavi and October Fest. A reminder again, Sheldon, before we close out the show, 11 races. The first jackpot, there are 3 jackpots, starts in race 1. Races 1 to race 4, jackpot 2 is race 5 to race 8, jackpot 3 is race 8 to race 11. 2 buy pots, but only 1 place accumulator and 1 pick 6. But it's going to be a long day's racing, but there's some really, really nice horses in action.
Well, thanks very much. We always value your professionalism and all your tips out there. And now we leave it up to the horses. So, Graham, thank you very much for being in studio with us.
Thank you, Sheldon.
There we go. Graham Hawkins given his suggested bet, and all we've got left to say is go best of all, and hopefully your horses hit the spot.